Oh, hey, welcome to Appalachian Saw. It's Saturday in December. Snow out my window. The chickens are staring at me. They're kind of weird. Anyhow, here's what I got going on today. Not that pile. That's my 46 clone. I had to rob some parts off of it. It may never go back together, which is a shame because I was tickled with how this thing ran at Sawfest. If you take your eyes in there, this is a cylinder I did in a rush, and there's a chip in the plating next to the exhaust port. Bummer. Anyhow, we are working on an 028 and an 036. The 028 is a super, you can tell because of the way that it is. And the guy brought both of these in. Get them running, port one of them. Originally, he said the 036 Pro. Cool. So I've done plenty of. And then he texted me a couple days later. He's like, could we port the 028? I'm like, probably, maybe. I don't. So anyhow, got him on the bench this week, got him torn down, started doing all the part swaps. We're doing crank seals, boots, fuel lines, etc., etc. And I took the 028 cylinder off first, and I got to looking in it. Squish was 026, 126 thousandths stock. When the gasket came off, it's a billion years old and torn, and I don't stock 028 Wood Boss gaskets. I don't know anybody that does. But here's the other thing that I was looking at. So I took a look at the cylinder, and you can tell it's got a bit of a base cut. You can tell the top of the piston has been cleaned up. I actually cut 10 thousandths off of the band area, which is the flat part, and then 5 off of the base. So that gets our squish back to 20 thousandths. 16, it'd probably live, but I'm not crazy about that. Here's why I'm going this route on this saw. I'm not going to charge him for a full ported saw. He's paying for that on the 361 and then all the parts and labor for this one. But here's one thing that I think a lot of guys don't think about. In the porting world, we talk about band cuts and base cuts. And when it comes to band cuts, what that means is we are cutting, can you see that? Yeah. So we are cutting the flat spot in the top of the cylinder, right? We're not boring these out. We're not enlarging the diameter, right? We are cutting that spot. In fact, if you look in this one, you can see, well, it's got all Dykem on it, but you can see the spot that was machined, right? Now, there's 2 reasons we do that. Typically, you'll hear builders talk about 2 reasons they do that. 1, raises the compression. It does do that. You're reducing the volume above the piston at TDC when you cut the band correctly and you maintain squish. Okay, that is a bump. That allows you to earn more exhaust duration, yada, yada, yada. So, band cuts, then you cut the base. Now, here's something that I think about when I look at a cylinder and how am I going to port it. If you read up, for example, Alexander Graham Bell's 2-stroke tuning handbook, there's another one that I actually liked better, but I can never remember the name of it. Maybe I'll look it up and put it in the description of this video. Probably not. He talks about squish velocity, band area, things of that nature, and how that has such a drastic improvement on engine performance, not necessarily just reducing compression. And we're building work saws here. So we're trying to do simple builds that improve the manners of the saw and increase output everywhere. So a lot of saws, like this 360 036, most modern saws, they have a slight taper to them, a degree or 2. And they have generally loose squish as a result of the manufacturing process. If you try to manufacture these in mass and you try to get them all 20 thou, 25 thou, you're going to have some that's too tight and you're going to have an increase in warrantyable saws. They already have an issue with that. They need to do them better, right? So when we do band cuts, my biggest consideration for doing a band cut is making it flat, because that improves squish velocity, and making it fit a certain area. I want the area of the band to be at a certain amount, right? The general rule of thumb for that is roughly 50%. So I'm not taking huge band cuts on saws. Some guys will say, well, it's got a 60 or 80, 100 thou. 100 thou is massive. I generally will cut the band. It ends up being about 30 thousandths, depending on the saw, till it's flat and hits that sort of benchmark for area that I like. So when I took this 028 cylinder off, what you'll notice, it's flat. This is the flattest OEM band I've ever seen. When I measured squish, it was dead on all the way across. You'll notice it's huge. It's already got a large area. That's there. Yes. So you can see the chamber. So its area is already correct. These dang spammers, leave me alone. So it's already got good area in the band, and it's already flat. So if I did a band cut in this, all I'm doing is reducing chamber volume. Well, it's got a super low angle plug. You can tell because of the way that it is, right? So, you know, you cut too much, you're running into plug interference issues with the pop-up. So what's our options, right? You know, okay, widen raise ports. Well, that might help to a point, but these are already producing moderate power for what they are, especially considering the vintage and the era of what they are. So here's what I'm doing, and I'll put up a cut video with it tomorrow, probably Monday. I don't know. Like I said, a slight pop-up on the top of the piston. These already have massive ring lands, especially around the crown. Cutting 10th thou off the top of this is not going to harm piston longevity, even slightly. We cut 5 thou off the base, so that's going to lower the cylinder 5/1000ths of an inch. Now, you might be wondering, okay, well, Morgan, that just ups compression. Yes, it does, but it does another thing. It also maintains your intake and, sorry, not your intake. It increases your intake duration because you're lowering the cylinder, even a finite amount, such as 5/1000ths, but it also increases your exhaust and transfer port duration without sacrificing any kind of port shape or velocity. You're not increasing the volume of the ports because you have changed when the port opens with the piston height, not with grinding the cylinder. So this will be an interesting one to see and to run. I didn't take anything out of the nipple, the pop up. Yeah, I'm curious to see how this one runs. So it's been a long time if I have done any kind of performance work on one of these. I'm doing a little bit of shaping in the intake port. I'm going to clean up the exhaust port. I might widen it a touch just to help get this gases out. But this is what I'm going to be curious to see how it improves or if it goes backwards. What steel was doing at this point, the port castings, especially in the intake, they're ugly, they're terrible. So there's easily some improvement there just cleaning stuff up. And if you're wanting to do some of this stuff on your own and you see a port that's got boogers everywhere in it from the casting, yeah, go in and clean that up. You're not hurting anything by doing that. Like these lowers, that's a hard lip in it. Now, there is some aerodynamic principle that when air comes up and hits that lip, it's going to create a vacuum on the back side of it and allow it to pull harder up in, but it's also going to create turbulence. So doing a light bit of radiusing there can maintain that vacuum pressure and not create a bunch of turbulence. So there's little things we can do to improve on a cylinder, even without drastic machine work and porting. This is more for my own edification and experimentation, but yeah. So happy Saturday, Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad, if you're into that. And yeah, post some cut videos tomorrow. Have a nice day.